and they tackle them to the ground. That is what a spear is, to run to your opponent and tackle them to the ground. By doing that, you are able to be victorious. When you spear your fear, that is exactly what you're doing. You are taking your fear, you are taking the fear that is in your heart, you are taking the fear that is around you, that surrounds you, you are taking that fear and you are simply tackling it to the ground. You are getting rid of it from your life. Who wouldn't want to remove such fears from within? Fear is very crippling. It is crippling to still have fear in your heart. Fear doesn't help you. Fear doesn't assist you. Fear doesn't aid you, doesn't elevate you. Fear keeps you from accomplishing something that you only could imagine had you not had the fear stopping you. This is why fear is so important for us to observe. It is important for us to acknowledge our fears as well. For some people, it is spiders. People are afraid of spiders, scared of them. People are afraid of other things. One of my fears in life that I've always had is the fear of failure. One thing I would not want to ever do or ever experience is failure. I am afraid of failing, and that is the truth. I am afraid of failing. But I don't allow that fear to keep me from experiencing different things. I don't allow that fear from stopping me from living life. I don't let that fear control me. For some people, fear controls everything that they do. And as a result of that, they never have a chance to experience life. That's a sad reality. But fortunately for us, we have a remedy for fear. Fortunately for us, there is a way for us to look at fear, see fear, and continually stick our head out, look at it, and walk by fear. There is a way for us to do that. There is a way for us to accomplish that goal and that mission when it comes to fear, and that is through Jesus Christ. If you allow fear to stop you from living your life, you will never be able to experience what Jesus has for you. You'll never be able to experience what Jesus wants for you to accomplish. Because if you're so stuck on being fearful, being scared, being afraid, then you will never be able to see what life is really worth. We look in the Bible where it speaks about fear, where the Bible talks about fear. The Bible talks about fear in different areas of the Bible. It talks about it in Isaiah. Isaiah 41 is one of my favorite verses. Isaiah 41, verse 10. Fear not. That's the first words of Isaiah 41, chapter 41, verse 10. chapter 41, verse 10. Fear not. The Bible is telling us that we should not fear. Psalms 56, verse 3 says, when I am afraid, I put my trust in you. The Bible tries to enable us and give us the tools and the keys needed to understand that it is not the end. This is not the end of what we're going through. That fear is not going to stop us. Fear is not going to overtake us, and fear is not going to demolish us. Sometimes you might let your fear get the best of you. Sometimes you might let your fear tell you what you can and cannot do. Sometimes you will allow your fear to shake you up, to break you down. But I want to encourage you this morning that fear is only a state of mind. It is not something that has any physical control over you. Fear has no control over you because fear is just a tool that Satan uses to keep you from experiencing life. Fear is also a tool that is used by people in society. It's called fear mongering. You know what fear mongering means? To push your own agenda by using fear tactics. People are crossing over to America to kill, rape, and murder you. People are crossing over to steal your jobs, to steal your home. Fear mongering. It puts fear into the hearts of people who genuinely have a fear. A couple of years ago, we had a it was all over the news regarding what happened in Charlottesville. A group of Caucasian men were walking around with tiki torches, very similar to the KKK, speech saying that you will not replace us. What do you think that means? It means that they feel as though that they are being replaced as far as them being the dominant race, as far as them being the majority. They feel as though that they are being replaced by the minorities that are coming to this country, and the growing population of minorities. They feel as though that they will be replaced, and that is a fear, a genuine fear that they have. Fear of losing power. We also see this with our own politicians. They are afraid of losing power. That's why they turn to the lobbyists and the corporations with money. You push my agenda, I'll make sure that you stay in power for another 4 years. You say what I need you to say on the cameras, in the Congress, anywhere, and I will ensure that you will have a smooth ride for the next 8 years of your service. And that's what people often do because they are scared, they are afraid of not only change, but they are of being replaced. That might not relate to any of us. So, what are we afraid of? Isaiah 41, verse 10. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. See, God in this verse is trying to encourage us and try to solidify what and why he's with us. He is with us because he wants to show us and tell us that not only do you have a voice, but you got someone who is in your corner and he sits on the top of all tables. He is at the head of all chairs. He is the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. He runs and rules this universe. This is why it is important for us to keep in mind that we should never fear what happens because we have someone in our corner. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and I will help you and I will hold you up with my righteous right hand. This is a promise that was given to us, and a promise is something that can never be broken, especially by God. God doesn't break his promises. We do. We break our promises every day. We break our promises all the time. And that's just because we're not like God. Some of us are afraid to keep our promises. I want to help you understand how we should spear our fear. Bible talks about a horrific situation that was about to occur to Daniel. Horrific. Thinking about this makes me afraid as we speak. Daniel had a ritual. He had a routine when it comes to praise and worship to God. His routine was to show God, shower God with love and admiration every single day. He wanted to express that love to God. The way he expressed that love was by displaying that from an open window where he would pray 3 times a day. For anyone who has ever followed um, Daniel, Daniel used to pray 3 times a day. That is a lifestyle, that is a principle that we can all use. If you are not doing that, if you're not uh, allowing yourself to do that, I encourage you to start. It is never too late to start. Praying 3 times a day is very therapeutic. See, if you go throughout your whole day not thinking about God, not praying to God, you'll feel like your day is just going out of control. God gives you a sense of control within your day. God sends his love. We should be thankful to that every single day. We look at Daniel chapter 6. Daniel chapter 6, and Daniel constantly gave this love and adoration to God, constantly displayed this love because he wanted to show that his love for his father trumped everything else that was happening in society, everything that was happening. And it wasn't like Daniel had a normal job, he had a very important job in the kingdom. His job was very important. However, there were always people who wants to drag you down. There is always people who want to make you feel that you're inadequate. This wasn't something that just started. This wasn't something that was brand new. This is something that has always been an issue and has always been a problem in society. People will always look to drag you down, to bring you down, because they themselves are afraid of what potential you might reach. And because some people are afraid of your potential, they will do everything to sabotage you so that you do not grow more successful. This is called a crab mentality. We see that in Daniel chapter 6. We look at verse 3. Now, Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional quality that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. So, among all the administrators, among his peers, he was considered to be one of the most distinguished. It was a rumor going around. They were speaking among each other. They were talking with each other and saying to each other, yo, did you hear that Daniel is going to be next in line to the kingdom? Do you know that that guy over there, Daniel, the one that always prays to his God and everything like that? You know that he is being considered to be one of the top leaders here in the kingdom? Look at all the stuff that we do for the king. We worship his images. We eat his meat. We are his biggest fans. We brown nose him. And guess what? The man that sits by himself, the man that prays in the window 3 times a day, the man that eats only the vegetables and fruits and water and stuff like that. Can you imagine that this is the guy that the king is looking at? What about us? What are we? Just chopped liver? I can imagine the conversation that was happening around that table and them looking, scarking at Daniel on the side. I can imagine their disdain for Daniel. I can imagine their hatred. I can imagine their fear of Daniel. I can imagine their fear of Daniel. When you start to have that type of fear of a person, when you start to have that fear that that person is going to become too great, too powerful, instead of you being happy for that person, you look for ways of destroying that person. You look for ways to tear that person down. It's quite unfortunate. But you see, Daniel didn't think about that. Daniel didn't care about that. Daniel wasn't concerned with all of that because none of that was important to Daniel. Daniel was concerned about two things: doing the Lord's work and also doing what was needed in the kingdom. Give me 1 second. All right. We look further into the verse. Now, Daniel, like I said, was distinguished. right? Let's keep that in mind. Daniel was distinguished among everyone in the kingdom, among his peers in the kingdom. Because of that distinguished attitude, his peers looked to destroy him, looked to get rid of him. That's what they were planning to do. That's what they wanted to do. It says in verse 4, at this, the administrators and the satraps tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel in his conduct of government affairs, but they were unable to do so. They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy, neither corrupted nor negligent. Imagine someone, you, being a person of character, being a person of distinguished attitude, being a person that carries themselves properly. You're going to always get people who are going to hate on you for doing just that. You're going to get people who's going to hate what you do because to them, you're too perfect. To them, you're too goody two shoes. And because you're too goody shoes, because you're too perfect, it is annoying to them. So they will always look for ways to try to destroy you and bring you down. That's exactly what these administrators was looking to do with Daniel. These administrators were looking to bring Daniel down because they were jealous of his position. Before they come to Daniel and ask the question, well, how can we be more like you? Before they ask that question, before they make that assumption, how can we be more like you, Daniel? They would look to create and plan to destroy Daniel. Finally, these men said, we will never find any basis to charge Daniel. He came to their senses. We cannot charge this man. We have to do something that goes against the law of his God. That is the only way we can get Daniel. If we do something that he would have to go against his God, that is the only way we can get Daniel. And it seems like they had a plan in action. It seems like they had a plan in motion at this point. It is done. We have to find something. We have to plan something. We have to create something that's going to enable us to trap him so that way he has no choice but to break either the law or to go against his God, and he's not going to go against his God. Seemed like they had Daniel right where they wanted him. So these administrators and satraps went as a group to the king and said, King Darius, may you live forever. The royal administrators, prefects, satraps, advisors, governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforce the decree that anyone who prays to any god or human being during the next 30 days, except to you, your majesty, shall be thrown in the lion's den. Seems like they came up with the perfect plan. Their plan was to have Daniel thrown into the lion's den because they knew that Daniel would not change what he was doing. They knew that Daniel wouldn't change who he was. They knew that Daniel would never change that because they knew that Daniel was very loyal to God. The king later agreed and put the decree in writing. The king was unaware of their treachery. The king was unaware of what their real intentions were when he signed it. I mean, at the end of the day, it seemed right. I mean, I'm the only one who should be getting this praise. I'm the only one who should be getting this love, this adoration, this joy. I'm the only one who should be receiving that. No one else should be receiving that, only me. So the law was set, everything was put in motion. The administrators and the satraps was now looking for the opportunity to find Daniel in this position. Now, verse 10 tells us that now when Daniel learned that the decree has been published, he went home, his upstairs room, where the window was open towards Jerusalem, and 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God. Just as he had done that, just as he has done before. And these men went as a group and found Daniel praying, asking God for help. So they went to the king and spoke to him about his royal decree. Did you not publish a decree that during the next 30 days, anyone who prays to any god or human being except to you, your majesty, will be thrown into the lion's den? The king answered, the decree stands in the accordance of the law of Medius and the Persians, which cannot be repealed. Then they said to the king, Daniel, who is one of your exiles of Judah, pays no attention to you. You see how they kind of took the story, twisted it up? See, their fear caused them to go through the extreme lengths of making sure that Daniel would be out of their way because of their fear. Because of Daniel's own fear, you saw that he didn't create another decree or went to the king to try to repeal or anything like that. He simply went to his father in prayer. And because he went to his father in prayer, he wanted you to know that not only am I going to go to my father in prayer, but I'm also going to go to him because I need him to remember who I am and to help me in this situation, to help me in this issue that I have. I have a problem right now and I need his help. And Daniel remembered that God said in Isaiah 41, verse 10, fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. He remembered that. They came to the king and they told the king exactly what was happening. The king was in a very, very tough spot. because the king didn't want to go through with this order because he had great respect for Daniel. But he also could not look weak in front of those that were there because he was going to show favoritism. And if that was the case, then it would have been, well, that means that we don't need to listen to your rule as well. King was in a tough spot. But the Lord always works things out for his children. The king ordered that Daniel be thrown into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." Now, why would the king say that? Why would the king even care if Daniel's God would rescue him? Why would that even be something in the king's mouth? Think about it. The king made a decree that nobody should worship no other gods or any humans except for him. So in his mind, he thought he was higher than any god. But yet still he acknowledged to Daniel, let your God rescue you. I pray that your God rescues you. It's very interesting. So a stone was brought to be placed over the mouth of the lion's den, and the king sealed it with his own signage ring and with the ring of his nobles, and that Daniel's situation may not be changed. And the king returned to his palace and spent the night without eating, without any entertainment being brought to him, and he could not sleep. He sent an innocent man, a honest man, a loyal man to his death in his mind. He thought those lions were going to tear him up limb from limb. At the first light of dawn, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. He wanted to see what was the remains of Daniel. He had no idea what he was going to encounter when he got there. When he came near the den, he called Daniel in an anguished voice. He couldn't sleep all night. He was upset. Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions? Daniel answered, my king, live forever. Let's stop there. Despite all that Daniel had gone through, despite all that Daniel had experienced, he still gave the king the respect that he had earned. The Bible talks about that we give God the glory and the honor and the praise, but we should also show respect to those who lead. May the king live forever. My God sent an angel and he shut the mouths of the lion, and they did not hurt me because I was found innocent in their sight. Now, have I ever done any wrong before you, your majesty? You see, the fear that Daniel wanted, this whole decree, was quickly diminished because of God. God came and encouraged him and showed him that even though you may have this fear, even though you might have this angst, even though you might have this dilemma, I want you to understand that it is all right because I, your God, will help you through it. I will strengthen you. I will lift you up with my right hand. I will give you purpose. I will give you drive. I will give you encouragement. Don't worry. Don't fear. Everything is going to be all right. What a mighty God we serve. What an awesome God we serve. God saw Daniel in the fight of his life, being put in a situation where he saw no end in sight, and he sent his angels to shut up the mouths of those lions. When the king saw this, the king was overjoyed. He gave the orders to lift Daniel out of the den. There was no wound found on him because he had trusted in his God. The king commanded that the men who falsely accused Daniel were brought and thrown into the lion's den with their wives and their children. Their whole families were thrown into that lion's den, and the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. The decree was then destroyed, and the king said that the people must fear and show reverence to the God of Daniel, for he is the living God and he endures forever. Daniel is a clear story of how we should approach fear. That even though fear may be crippling at times and fear might be hard at times, we should not let fear take over and control who we are. We serve a God who is mighty, who is strong. We serve a God who is able to help us and to elevate us. We serve a God who is mighty. We serve a God that will never lead us astray. So when you think about the fears that you might have, when you think about the fears that you might be experiencing, when you think about the fears that are causing you to feel as if you are in a den of lions, let us be reminded of what God can do. I know we went a little bit over time, but I wanted to give you a little bit extra because I think that fear is something that we all can relate to. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you again for your love and your mercy. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us, enabling us, and giving us the love, the joy, and the peace that only your word can bring. Father God, help us, Lord, not to fear, dear Father, but to be encouraged, to know that there is a God that will stand by us. There's a God that will lift us up. There's a God that will encourage us. There's a God that will be close to us because he loves us. And he wants us to be successful. Help us to remember that you are in charge and you are God and God alone. Help us, Lord, to be ever encouraged, and help us, Lord, that we will continue to grow closer to you. Lord, we love you. We thank you. In Christ's name. Amen. I want us to remember what fear can do. Why fear has no place in our hearts. Why fear have no place in our lives. It's challenging at the same time because fear is a challenge. As much as we want to embrace not being afraid, there are times, there are moments where we are afraid. And it's okay to say, I'm afraid. It's okay to say, I'm scared. It's okay to say, I don't know what to do. It's okay. See, we read here in Daniel, who was in Daniel 6 this entire time. If you want to reread it, Daniel 6. See, Daniel 6 tells us that Daniel was put in a position, a very tough position, because this law was put into effect. Imagine a law being put down that says that you cannot do the one thing that you enjoy doing. If you do it, you will die. Think about it. What would you do? Would you easily dispose of the thing that you enjoy doing because you're scared of the ramifications? Or are you going to stand firm and say, you know what? Yeah, I get it. This is put in place to make sure that I don't have a life worth living. This is put in place because of the hatred and the anger that a person have towards me and my people. That's why they created these laws, and I'm not going to listen to that. Or do you say, okay, I'm going to listen to it because I cherish my life, I value my life over anything else? See, this morning I want us to be encouraged because God is always going to have our backs. Let's keep that in mind. God is always going to have our backs. Not only is he always going to have our backs, but he's always going to be in our corner. See, imagine yourself in a boxing ring. And when you're in a boxing ring, you have an opponent on the other side. And the opponent is looking right at you, looking right through you, and saying with his eyes or with her eyes that I'm going to demolish you and I'm going to beat you in the middle of this ring. And as you're sitting in your corner, you're starting to get a little bit of fear. Fear starts to creep inside of you because you're scared that you go out there and you get hurt. You don't want to get hurt. You prepared for this fight. And as you look in your corner, imagine not having a coach, not having a cut man, not having someone in your corner to give you the encouragement that you need to go out there and to box. And then when there's nothing in your corner and there's nobody in your corner, guess what happens to you? You still got to go out there and fight. And because you still got to go out there and fight, it gets very, very scary because you don't know what's going to happen. And while you go out there and you get punched up and beaten up and everything like that, you go back to your corner, there's still nobody at your corner. And if there's nobody at your corner, who's going to give you the encouragement that you need to get through the next round? Who's going to give you the encouragement that you need? Now imagine being in the same situation, but when you look in your corner, there is a coach. And this coach is one of the greatest coaches that ever coached. He knows exactly what position that you should be in. He knows exactly how you should dodge the punches and how you should throw punches of your own. He knows exactly what you need to do. He knows that you need to stick and move. He knows that you need to show. He knows you need to move side to side, wishy washy. He knows that you got to do these things, and maybe you might not know how to do them, but you know how to execute them. And that's why he tells you it's okay because I'm going to tell you what you got to do to get through this round. I'm going to tell you what you got to do to get through this fight. I'm going to show you what you have to do because guess what? At the end of the day, I want you to be successful. I want you to win. And I'm going to be in your corner even when it gets rough, even when you get beaten up on a round. It doesn't matter because guess what? You're not going to lose this fight. I'm not going to allow you to lose this fight because guess what? I'm invested in you and you should be invested in yourself. That's our problem. Some of us are not invested in ourselves. Some of us are not invested in our survival. Some of us are scared. And because we are afraid and we have this fear, we get easily beaten up. But God is saying, I need you to get back up. I need you to shake off that fear. I need you to shake off that doubt. I need you to shake off that depression. I need you to shake off that frustration. I need you to shake these things off because guess what? The round that you need to fight is coming up. The bell is about to be rung again. And you need to get out of this corner and you need to go face your fears head on. And guess what you need to do? When that fear throws the first punch, because he's going to throw the first punch, I need you to turn to your right and miss that punch. And when he throws the next punch, I need you to turn to your left and miss that punch. And once you've done those two things, then all I need you to do, all I want you to do is to keep swinging. It doesn't matter if you land your punches. It doesn't matter if you swing wildly. I need you to swing because you need to show what's in front of you, that fear that's in front of you, that doubt that's in front of you, that depression that's in front of you. I need you to swing to show it that you're not going to get beaten up every single round anymore. And the minute you start to land those punches and that fear starts to feel that pain and that doubt starts to feel that pain and that depression starts to feel that pain, then you can start a comeback. You can start to mount a comeback. And when you start to mount that comeback, when you start to get that confidence, when you start to build, nothing can stop you. And you win that fight. And guess what? Just because you win that fight doesn't mean your fighting is over. Just because you win this fight doesn't mean your fighting days are over. We are going to be in wars and fighting the enemy until the last day. So don't think that this is going to be a walk in the park. None of this is going to be a walk in the park. As we close this morning's devotion topic was spear your fear. This week's devotion topic is out with your old. Out with your old. We often say out with the old, in with the new. Out with your old. Doubt is old. You need to remove it. Fear is old. You need to remove it. Tomorrow morning, we will discuss another topic. Something that we need to get rid of. Something that we need to get rid of. Remember what Daniel did when he was met with certain death. Instead of him trying to go directly to the king to try to talk to him, spoke to his God first. Some of us, we go straight to the source after the fact. When something is presented in front of you, take it to God in prayer. Take it straight to him in prayer. And then leave it there. And in whatever direction you take, know that it's the spirit that's leading you. Unless it's reckless, then clearly that's not the spirit. Or maybe it is, who knows? Anyway, so great, so grateful, so happy that you guys joined me this morning. I pray that you received something, that you were able to take something today, something tangible, something of nourishment, something that you can be encouraged throughout your day. I pray that each and every one of you will be blessed and taken care of this day. Today is the 9th of January. I have so many birthday shout outs I got to do today. My birthday is Saturday. I'm overly excited, but I'm also humble. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow morning as we continue our discussion, continue our devotion. So again, I want to thank you. I want to encourage you to join the broadcast and continue to support me by your prayers. So once again, I just want to thank you. Have a great day. Have a blessed day. Have a stronger day than you did yesterday. Take care, everybody. Bless.